fun night that spiralled into insanity. A trip report sent in by a subscriber on 11th of November 2022. Yeah, sorry, I didn't get around to it faster, mate, but here we go. To begin my story, I vaguely remember around halfway through December of 2021 is when I decided to take my first trip. I just turned 20 and never had the chance to have psychedelics till then. Little did I know, this would be my last time travelling to the unknown. It started around 9 PM, which coincidentally was when I took all my LSD trips. In total, I've had roughly 6, varying from 150 to 400 micrograms. Anyway, that night, I got 4 150 microgram gel tabs. They were a bluish purple colour, which I haven't actually seen before, only yellow and a distinct blue. I was sceptical, but I really wanted to trip that night and trusted the source. My girlfriend, who has schizophrenia and didn't know it could worsen her condition, and myself, split the 4, taking 2 each. About an hour goes by and I start feeling tense, almost a sense of euphoria. My jaw started locking up, which was normal for me. My girlfriend, on the other hand, was playing GTA 5 on her Xbox and started crying uncontrollably, which set my mood off to a bad start. Eventually she calmed down and explained the come up of the acid just made her cry and nothing was wrong, which made me feel better. A few hours go by, and I'd say it's around 12 AM at this point, when we're watching these YouTube music clips. We're laughing and having a great time, and then that's when the acid really starts to come into play. We've smoked around 6 bong packs at this point as well. We were chronic smokers. My girlfriend, let's call her A, started making food, and I was a bit worried she may hurt herself or worse, since she'd never had a breakthrough before. We then have a talk to make sure we're both safe enough to not be in the same room, and something just clicked to where we became connected. We unconsciously started speaking telepathically, and didn't realise until a while later. After we ate, we sat down at our table to smoke some more, and I started forgetting what I was doing, even who I was. My memories were gone. I called my sister to make sure she was still real, and she answered indeed, and confirmed that she is not a figment of my imagination at all. And this put me into a loop. For hours I kept forgetting who I was and what I was doing. I then lay down. A and I start talking about how good we felt and that this was a good choice, really showing our love. And for some reason, I was staring into A's eyes and decided to cross mine. Little did I know how bad of an idea that actually was. It immediately turned my vision into a kaleidoscope and I screamed "fuck," thinking that was the gate key to being in a permanent trip. Keep in mind, after this, my vision turned into a constant kaleidoscope with these rainbow array of phosphenes. My third eye was completely open, so I had that fisheye lens vision. I really thought this was the end of me, and I quite possibly thought I was going to die that night. And I thought it'd be a good idea to go in the shower to try and sober up, but it didn't change anything. I felt like I was inside of a grid when I was in the tub. The water wasn't even touching my body. The beads that fly out the sides of the main stream is what my body was picking up. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I was feeling like a giant alien taking a warm shower with A was almost magical, but because of the paranoia, it ruined it. I soon began to melt into the background of the bathroom and flipped the bath mat because I got lost in the pattern and immediately ran out of the bathroom back into my room with A. Now this is when I really started to notice the telepathic conversations. I picked up if I was facing A, we would speak telepathically without trying. I didn't like that because of a schizophrenia. But like thousands of voices were speaking at once and was very overwhelming. I learned if I turned away and didn't make eye contact or had my back turned, it wouldn't activate and I could keep my own thoughts separate. I was worried if we had our minds merged, we would literally become one in that very moment and not have our past lives. Yet, we would transcend to space and be shown the truth of the universe. At one point we literally thought we were Adam and Eve, that we were the only 2 people on Earth, and we no longer were on our planet. I did indeed open the back door to make sure we were still on Earth, and to my surprise and happiness, we hadn't left. It was still very frightening, and we did think we would die for sure, but we went to bed around 11 AM and accepted our fate. We woke up around 16 hours later, and to our surprise, we were alive. We decided the apartment we were staying in was evil and had this bad energy, and that we must leave at once. Every day we went back home, it reminded us of how awful our trip was and had to escape. We moved from New York, Long Island, to Las Vegas, Nevada. It was a little better, but the flashbacks followed. We were on the verge of possibly ending this torturous nightmare. My HPPD after my trip, I'd see a Fibonacci spiral in constant colour change patterns when I'd look at the sky at night. Before I went to bed, this was burned into my brain, and then one day it just went away. I'd see my nose more frequently than I ever remembered. I wanted to cut it off. And for 6 months straight, I had this intense pressure on my forehead, where my pineal gland is. It's where your third eye activates, and I was worried it'd just open up any time. It didn't in the end, and that pressure has gone away. But then, I'd smoke weed and be put right back into the trip weeks after. My thoughts were rushing sometimes, but I've calmed down. I looked into spirituality a lot, trying to figure out if I was still tripping. But I just gave up and accepted that this is what it is. My world seems normal and not in a trip-like state, so I'd say I'm not in a perma-trip. I think it's all mental, and if you don't think about it, it won't be present, so just live your life really. I could go on, but I think you all get the gist. I hope you all have safe, responsible trips, and to always check your substances with a test kit to make sure it's the real thing. I think the tabs I had on that trip may have been fake, and deep inside, it bothers me. But in the end, I think the bad trip was very inspirational, and has led me to some great opportunities. I now have a $100k a year job, and I'm sober. Before this, I was about to go homeless because of my weed addiction, and I was working this dead-end job. Somehow, I think my bad trip saved me, even though it was one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever had.